You just joined a project, and there are hundreds of files. Where do you even begin? Don't try to read everything. Read it in layers instead. Sounds hard? It's easier than it looks. Think of moving to a new city. You don't memorize every street. First, you get the map, then the main roads, then your own lane. Reading code works the same way. Start with the big picture first, then zoom into one file. Picture the whole project. The README is the overview, the folders show the layout, and one file holds the detail. Read from outside in. Open the README first, then the folder structure, then a single file. The README is the map. One file is the destination. Don't open everything at once. Layers keep you from drowning, one step at a time. So why read in order? Because a new codebase isn't scary once you read it in order. Overview first, then narrow, and you stay calm throughout. Try it right now. List the files, then read the README. It tells you how to start. So that's reading new code. Read it in layers, not all at once. Next up, understanding code you didn't write. You hit a function you don't get. 20 lines of someone's code. What does it actually do? Don't read it line by line. Read it like a short story. Sounds tricky? It's simpler than it looks. Think of a recipe card. You don't need every detail. The ingredients go in, the steps do the work, and a dish comes out. A function works the same way. Just look at what goes in and what comes out. Picture the function. Inputs are the ingredients, the body does the cooking, and the return is the dish. Focus on the edges first. The name tells the goal. The input tells the need. The return tells the result. The input is the ingredients. The return is the dish. Skip the messy middle at first. In and out tell you most. Details can wait. So why read this way? Because any function makes sense. Once you see in and out, read the name, trace the inputs, then find what it returns. Try it right now. Run the function once. With a simple input, the output shows you everything. So that's decoding a function. Just follow the input and output. Next up, the debugging mindset. Your code just broke, and you have no idea why. Time to panic? No, bugs are not bad luck. They're clues you can follow. Feels overwhelming? It's calmer than it looks. Think of a detective on a case. They don't guess wildly. They see one clue, form a single theory, then test if it's true. Good debugging is the same. Form one clear theory, then test it before moving on. Picture the investigation. You spot the clue, you form a theory, and you test it to be sure. Don't change 10 things at once. First observe what broke, guess one reason why, then test if you're right. Your theory is the guess. The test is the proof. Calm beats panic every time. One change, one test. Then repeat. So why think this way? Because a bug isn't bad luck. It's a clue you can follow. Stay calm, pick one theory, and test it carefully. Try it right now. Run the code, read the error line. It points you to the bug. So that's the debugging mindset. Form a theory, then test it. Next up, console.log debugging. Your code runs, but it's wrong. And you can't see why. What's actually in that variable? Stop guessing the value. Just print it and look. Too simple to work? Pros use it every single day. Think of a torch in a dark room. You can't fix what you can't see. So you shine a light, you see what's really there, and the problem shows up. Console.log is that torch. You print a value, and the console shows it. Picture the variable hidden. You shine the light, you see the real value, and you spot the bug. One line does it all. Type console.log, pass it the value, and run the output. The variable is the mystery. The printed value is the truth. No fancy tools needed. Works in any language. Print, look, fix. So why is this the go-to? Because instead of guessing, you just print it and look. Any value instantly with no special tools. Try it right now. Add console.log with a label, then run the file. The real value appears. So that's console.log debugging. Print the value and see the truth. Next up, finding answers. You're stuck on an error. You've stared at it for an hour. Now what? You search, every dev does. Being stuck is completely normal. Feel like cheating? It's the actual skill. Think of asking for directions. You don't wander lost for hours. You say exactly where you want, someone points the way, and you arrive. Searching code is the same. Paste the exact error, and you get the exact fix. Picture your error message, copy the precise words, paste them into a search, and the answer shows up. Don't search how you feel. Copy the real error, paste it into Google, and ask an AI to. The error is your search. The top result is your answer. Search words, not vibes. Google plus AI is unstoppable. Read, don't just paste. So, why is this a superpower? Because being stuck is normal and searching well is a real skill. Copy the error, ask AI to, then read the fix carefully. Try it right now. Copy your error to the clipboard, then paste it into a search. The fix is usually right there. So that's finding answers. Search the exact error to get unstuck. Next up, working with external APIs. Your app needs live data. Maybe weather, maps, or payments. Do you build all that yourself? No, you plug into an API. You ask another app for it. Sounds advanced? It's just a request. Think of a restaurant menu. You don't cook in their kitchen. You pick what you want, they prepare it for you, and the dish arrives. An API works the same way. You send a request, and it sends data back. Picture two apps talking. You choose from the menu, they prepare your data, and you receive it. It's a simple back and forth. You call Fetch. You give it a URL, and you get JSON data. Fetch is your request. JSON is their reply. You don't build it yourself. Payments, maps, weather, all ready. Just plug in. So why use APIs? Because you don't reinvent maps. You just call an API. Payments, maps, even weather, all a single request away. Try it right now. Curl a public API URL and watch the data return. Live data, no work. So that's external APIs. Call another app instead of building it. Next up, environment variables for secrets. You built an app that calls an API, but that API needs a secret key. Where do you put it? Not inside your code, ever. That key is like a password. Sounds dramatic? It's the most common rookie mistake. Think of your house key. You keep it in your pocket, not taped to the front door. A secret works the same way. It stays out of the code, and your code just asks for it. The secret lives outside the code. The code only reads its name. The key in your pocket, safe but still reachable, never on the door for all to see. Your code points to the name, never to the value itself. Here's how it looks. API underscore key is the name. SK12345 is the secret value. The name is public and fine to share. The value stays hidden away. Set it once in your environment. Your code reads it by name. The real key never gets committed. So why does this matter so much? Because a leaked key is real money. Someone finds it on GitHub and runs up your whole bill. Treat keys like passwords. Never commit them, use a .env file. Try it right now. Type export API underscore key equals, then your secret value. Now your code can read it safely. So that's environment variables. Next up, basic security awareness. Your app is live and people use it. Now you have something to protect. Security sounds like a huge topic, but it's really just 5 habits. 5 rules every developer follows. Scary? Not once they become routine. Think of locking up your house. You lock the front door and you shut the windows too. Security is the same set of checks, done without even thinking. Build the habit just once, and it guards you every single day. Lock the door, hide your secrets, shut the windows, stay updated. Watch who walks in, check input. A few simple moves, repeated until they're automatic. Here's the core mindset. Never trust user input. Anything a stranger types could be a trap. Never trust is the rule. User input is the risk. Hide your secrets in env files. Install your updates promptly. Always check what comes in. Trust nothing a stranger sends. So why care this early in your journey? Because one careless line of code can leak an entire database. The fix is cheaper than the breach. Hide secrets, check every input. Always use HTTPS, never plain HTTP. Try it right now. Add .env to your gitignore file. Now Git will never upload your secrets. That one line prevents real disasters. So those are the 5 non-negotiables. Next up, deploying to the internet. You build something that actually works, but it only runs on your laptop. How does the world see it? You deploy it, you put it online, push your code and get a live link. Complicated? It's one command these days. Think of opening a small shop. You built it at home first, then moved it to a busy street. Deploying is that same move. Laptop to a public address. You push your code up once, and the host puts it online for you. You push the code up. The host builds it for you. And it goes live on the internet. You send your work. The platform does the rest. Here's the whole idea. You type git push. Seconds later, you get a live URL. Git push sends your code up. The live URL is your public link. That link works on any device. On your laptop, only you see it. Deploy is the move to the world. The live URL works for everyone. So why ship it out at all? Because a project only you can see helps absolutely no one. Shipping is what makes it real. Push to deploy, get a URL, then share that link anywhere. Try it right now. In a deployed project, type git push. Watch it build and go live. A friend in Pune can open it instantly. So that's deploying to the internet. Next up, custom domains. Your app is live, but the link is ugly. Something like my app x7k.versal.app. Nobody can remember that. So you give it your own name instead. A domain points right to your app. Hard to set up? It's just a few clicks. Think of a shop signboard. You pick a clear name for it and point passers-by to your door. A domain is your signboard online. One name, easy to recall. You register a name you like and DNS points it at your app. First you pick a name, then you point it at the address. And people find you easily. DNS is just the system that connects names to addresses. Here's the simple version. You buy aman.com. Then you point it at your app. Aman.com is the easy name. Your app is where it actually points. One clean name, easy to say out loud. The domain is the friendly name. DNS is the pointer behind it. Your app is the real target. So why bother with a custom domain? Because nobody remembers a random link. Your own name looks serious. It tells people you mean business. Pick a name, point the DNS at it. And suddenly your project looks pro. Try it right now. Type dig, then a domain name. You'll see the address it points to. That's DNS doing its quiet work. So that's custom domains. Next up, the professional workflow. You can build, deploy, and stay safe. So how do real teams work together? They follow one simple loop. Branch, review, merge, then ship. The same steps every single time. Sounds corporate? It's actually pretty intuitive. Think of a busy kitchen line. One person takes the order, another cooks the dish carefully. Then the chef checks it before it ever leaves the kitchen. You work on your own branch, and a teammate reviews before it ships. You take the task on a branch. You cook up your changes there. A teammate checks it before merge. Nothing reaches users until a second person approves. Here's the loop in order. Branch, then review, then merge, then ship to users. A branch is your safe copy. A second pair of eyes reviews it. This same loop scales to any team. The branch keeps your work separate. Review catches mistakes early. Merge combines it back in. So why follow all these steps? Because nobody ships straight to production. One unchecked change can break everything. The loop keeps the whole team safe. Branch first, then get reviewed. Only then do you merge it in. Try it right now. Type git checkout-b new feature. You're now on a safe branch. Experiment freely without breaking main. So that's the professional workflow. Next up, what's next your learning path? You started this course at zero. Now you can build and ship real apps. So what comes after this? Keep building, keep growing. Bigger projects built end to end? Feeling like you've arrived? You're just getting started. Think of learning to drive. You can handle the car now, so you take longer trips next. Then you explore brand new roads you never dared try before. You already have the basics down. Real projects sharpen all the rest. You can drive the basics now. So take on longer journeys and explore roads you've never seen. Every new project teaches you something the last one didn't. Here's the simple rhythm. You learn a new idea, then you build something real with it. Learn means picking up a fresh concept. Build means using it for real. That loop never stops working. Build real projects, not just tutorials. Share them with other people. And repeat that loop every week. So why keep going from here? Because you stopped being a total beginner. You crossed the hardest line already. The rest is just practice and curiosity. Build real projects, join a team, and never ever stop learning. Try it right now. Type Git in it, then a new project name. Your very next build starts today. The best way to learn is to build. So that's your learning path forward. Next up, when HTTP isn't enough,